And if you really, after you step back and you can see that, yeah, Dr. Phyllis, yeah, you're right. I am so caught up in work and thinking about work. Welcome back to the Joy in the Pivot. I'm Dr. Phyllis, your host, and in today's episode 33, I am talking about work-life balance pivot 101, dethroning work as your Prince Charming. Yep, I said it. How does it make you feel to hear me say that? Dethroning work as your Prince Charming. I want you just to stop for a moment. Just think about that. What does that mean to you? Prince Charming, work, putting that in the same sentence. Were you one of those little girls who always loved the fairy tales of the happy ending, happily ever after? Be it Cinderella, Snow White, Rapunzel, later Beauty and the Beast. The story of the prince coming in and sweeping the main character off her feet, riding off into the sunset where they live happily ever after. No worries, no cares. Are you the big girl, the woman who loves to curl up and loves those special movies that we all love to watch around the holidays, of the love stories, and within what, an hour, well, mostly it's usually 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours, the story has its ups and downs and twists and concerns, and at the end the movie has the happy ending. The main characters connect, they realize they're in love, and they, again, the happily ever after. You may be saying, Dr. Phyllis, okay, what does this have to do with work and work-life balance? I'm glad you asked this. I want you to think about just how you thought about Prince Charming. And we all who love those fairy tales and love the happy ending, which is nothing wrong. And we look for that Prince Charming to come along. And as you live life, I think you would agree that you realize that life is not perfect. Even when Prince Charming comes along, you're going to have the ups and downs. The thing you pray for is that when that Prince Charming comes, it's the person that you can go through life with those ups and downs. Now, you may not have a Prince Charming in your life, and that's okay. I want you to think about more the concept of the Prince Charming, the answer to your troubles, something or someone that you see or you look to or you put on a pedestal to give you validation and make you feel that life is going to be all right. If you just stay in that relationship or with that thing, right? You possess that thing. Now, let me go a little deeper here. Work can become your Prince Charming. And it can sneak upon you, this whole concept where you begin to look at work as your answer to everything. Your performance, what people think about you on the job, the sense of success and achievement that all the years that you put in, you look to your job and the success and the promotion and the accolades as a way to say, yes, you are worthy, you are enough, you matter, you're doing a good job. And why does that happen? Because I think more or less at some point you realize that you don't have a whole lot of control in life. Okay, we'll say those relationships, those that time outside of the workplace, right? I think there is an acceptance or at least an acknowledgement that you don't have control, right? You can't control everything that your kids can do. You can't control everything your spouse or your significant other or your other family members do. You can't control that. You can't always control that unexpected house repair that comes up or your car breaking down or unexpected bill, all of those potential life snags. You can't control that. And if you're not careful, you then look for some sense of normalcy, some sense of control at work. You look to work because you figure that okay, I've taken all the classes, I've gotten the degrees, I've done everything they've told me to do, I've gone up and beyond, I've covered when they needed me to, I identified problems and tried to get ahead of them. So you figure, or let's say you put work into a box. You put work in a box. It's a controlled place. You figure if you play by the rules, you play by the policies and procedures, then you're going to be okay. And you look for that feeling of that happily ever after that, okay, I've arrived. Now, if I just play by these rules, I'm going to just stay in this job until I decide I'm going to retire or age makes me retirement is mandatory or I decide to do something different. It's a sense of control, right? You then put work on a pedestal. Maybe there's someone at your job who's been your mentor or your role model, and they told you, hey, you stick with me, you just do XYZ, and I'm going to open doors for you. Or maybe you're in a leadership position and you love your staff. You want to, because of your big heart, give them everything you have. Because in you have been brought up, you believe that, which is right, that you treat people the way you want to be treated. And your work is your ministry, right? You are working not only to provide for your family, but you're working because you feel God has put you in this place. And so you want to show your coworkers, show those that your leaders, Christ through you. You are trying to be a light in the workplace. And in the midst of that, work becomes your Prince Charming. Work becomes work or that mentor or that leader you admire. If you're not careful, you put on a pedestal. And if you're not careful, you will find that you put everything, your most precious energy, into the job. You're thinking about work when you're not at work. You're talking to coworkers that you you supervise after work. You are doing work. Sometimes you have to do work, we understand, after hours. Yet I do think there's room to look at that. And the reason I bring this up is, again, I know that was me. When you put work on a pedestal and your work becomes your Prince Charming, you devote everything into that relationship, your relationship with work, because it's not at that point just a job where you're trying to pay for your bills, you're trying to do a good job. And again, make the money needed to provide for your family, provide for your household. But in the midst of that, your job, your work takes precedence in your life to the point that work is your Prince Charming, that you pour everything into that relationship, your relationship with work, your bosses at work, your be it your clients or your patients, or as I said, those who you supervise. You pour everything into them, and everyone, everything outside of work, which is life, although you think that you are trying to balance, you're not present. You're not present. You're not really present for family. You're not really present for your significant other. You're not really present for your kids. You're not really present, and you're not present really for yourself, because you now have put work on this pedestal so that those maternal instincts that I think most of us women are born with, regardless if you have birth children or you have adopted children or you have assumed responsibility for children. I feel that for most women, we are born with this maternal instinct or maternal drive to care for others. And if we're not careful, we take that maternal need, right? And we pour it into our job to a point where it crosses the line from trying to do our best at work to make a difference or use work as our ministry to do good during the hours that we're there. It becomes all consuming because we look for job. You look for your job to be everything, to be your Prince Charming, to be your validation that you're a good person, that you are doing well. This is why we're quote unquote out of balance. And I would want to say that my idea about work-life balance, there is balance, but it's not balance like it's equal. I think that you can have work-life balance by having your life as number one priority. God, you, your family, those that you are care about as the main priority, and then work is in its proper place. And it can be very difficult for you to do because you spend so many hours of the day at work. When you look at it, just like we talk about kids, right? Or students, I should say, people that are full-time students, most of their time is spent in the classroom. Nowadays it's virtual, right? A combination. But when you work full-time, most of your hours of the day are spent in work-related activities. So unless you intentionally look at that, then without you even realizing, work takes on this monumental role in your life so that how you feel about yourself, how you look at yourself really becomes no longer measured by who God has created. God has created you to be. And it becomes measured in your mind by who work tells you you are. So that when you get disappointed at work, when things don't work out the way you planned, you don't get that promotion. Someone criticizes you. They criticize your leadership. You get scapegoated, where you basically get to take the fall, the bullet for the team, the hit for the team. It just can break you down because you feel heartbroken, you feel betrayed, you feel abandoned. So it is important, sis. I am so committed to help you and other Christian women avoid some of the pitfalls that I had to go through. And if you're at that crossroads where you are feeling heartbroken because of what you've had experienced at work, after you have devoted all of this time and effort at work, I want to help you because I know that the reason God has allowed you to hit this crossroads is really not about those people or what they said about you or that you didn't get that promotion or you didn't get reappointed to play a certain role. God needs you. He needs your attention. He needs you to get realigned with what really He's created for you. You'll hear me talk about Jeremiah 29:11 a lot because God knows the plans He has for you, and they're not to destroy you or harm you, but it's to prosper you. Yet when we let it sneak in there, those thoughts or those actions where we have put our job in the role of Prince Charming and put the people or the position on that throne, it can be a major fall. And especially when we begin to believe the words. Now, let me stop and say this. This is not to say that you do not make a difference. You are making a difference in your job. And you may know for some people who will tell you, or you may not know until later, but I'm going to tell you, you make a difference. I know this because every day I see it for us women with big hearts, and you are a woman who has a big heart that goes up and beyond for everybody. You do make a difference. Yet God needs you to be able to put work in its proper perspective, its proper position, to do your very best at work, but put work again in its place and come out of the fear of being caught up in getting your good feelings from work. Again, it's nothing wrong with getting accolades, with getting promotion. Yet, if you are not careful, you will get so caught up in the striving such that when things happen at the job, you're crushed and you feel betrayed. So I want you to really think about this and pray about this and look at the role that work is playing in your life. And if you really, after you step back and you can see that, yeah, Dr. Phyllis, yeah, you're right. I am so caught up in work and thinking about work and thinking about the workplace drama or the people at work that what God has for me or my family or other gifts that God has given me that I've put on the shelf waiting for life to hand me an opportunity to then get back to them happens. No. If that's you, then I want you to think about how do you need to rethink and revision and dethrone work as your Prince Charming. Now, if you are in the midst of that, where you are feeling heartbroken because you didn't get the promotion or people talked about you or your boss who you thought really had your back didn't support you or people who you went up and beyond to cover for, they don't seem to appreciate it. If you're there, sis, I'm going to tell you, there is light beyond your pivot. Because this is a time that you need to pivot. And I pray for you, do not let Satan get busy and make it all about you. Yes, you will need to step back and look at maybe how you need to reapproach things or approach things or to get still and allow God to tell you what lesson he wants you to learn from where you're at. Or you may consider that you need to get a coach, someone to help hold your hand through the process so you don't get stuck. Because it's very easy to get stuck in that dark place that can happen when work breaks your heart, when people break your heart, when suddenly you feel that yesterday you were in the C suite or the middle, I call it the M suite, the middle management suite, or you were in another form of leadership yesterday, and today you feel like you're out there all by yourself. The same people who welcomed you in, now you feel like they've ostracized you. I've been there too. But I can tell you, sis, God has bigger things for you. And this is just a chapter in his plan, just a step in his plan. Yet, understandably, it feels monumental and you can't see how you're going to get through it. And maybe you're even saying, what? I'm in my 40s, in my 50s, I'm in my 60s, and oh, I never imagined that here I would be at this point in my life. And I think when we're over 40, it's even feels more heavy because you feel like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? But I'm going to tell you, it's not too late. There's light on the other side, and there's light in the pivot as you're pivoting. That's why I talk about there's joy to be found, there's joy to be enjoyed, there's joy to be rediscovered in your pivot zone. But to get to it, you have to step into it. You have to acknowledge those alarms, those signals that God is giving you that He needs you to get off of. Well, He needs you to dethrone work as your Prince Charming. He wants to be your Prince Charming. He is our king, right? I want you to know that just how God helped me find joy, reconnect with His plan in my pivot zone, He will do the same for you. And I encourage you to get with a coach, be it me, be it another coach who resonates with you, because you don't have to do it alone. Dethrone work as your Prince Charming. You can do it. And when it comes to work-life balance, the true balance comes from putting work in its proper position, as it's in its proper level of priority, and choose joy. That is the one of the major steps. And I'm not going to tell you it's easy. It's not. It's a process. But it's a wonderful process. Wonderful. When you are able to make that pivot and start on your journey of truly fulfilling God's purpose for your life with work in its proper place, being present for your family, and present for yourself. Life-changing. And I feel so blessed that you join me here each week. And I look forward to cheering you on, to coaching you along so that you can live your best life in your pivot zone and beyond. Don't forget, you're awesome. You're worthy. You're more than enough in Christ. And I love you. Please share this episode with someone who you feel that it will be a big help to them. And I look forward to seeing you next week right here. Enjoy in the pivot. Be well. Take care. Love you all much. Bye.